The holiest guitar in existence? Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. This is one of those guitar stories that transcends what the instrument is in and of itself. This is the model we're going to talk about today. It's a Gibson Lucille. These were first introduced around 1980 as a signature guitar for B.B. King. The very early iterations look different than what you're used to. They've got the dot inlays, TP6 tailpiece. They've got that classic signature no F-hole design, which means you have to have a back access control plate, with Lucille on the headstock, although early on it was just a decal. And some early examples even have the flip-out winding tuners and other special parts like the top adjust bridge and diamond posi lock strap buttons. Since then, there's been Epiphone versions, numerous Gibsons. But the tried and true classic Gibson Lucille looks like this. It's typically the ebony finish, you've got the baritone switch. The TP6 does stay because that's part of his thing of how he changes strings so quick. You get the ebony fretboard with the block inlays like an ES355, and the Gibson logo and Lucille starts to become mother of pearl, and you get B.B. King brass truss rod covers. B.B. King called many a guitars Lucille. This wasn't even the first one, but it's his most famous guitar. But what makes this particular one so special? Well, it's got the baritone, speed knobs, it's got the regular bridge and tailpiece, it's gold hardware, it's all the stuff we were just talking about. Is that fine engraving on our tuners? No, that's just patina, wear and tear. What is going on here, Trogly? Well, it dates to the year 1997. What's significant about that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's got a backplate like normal. But perhaps it's the pick guard. That looks like a different color from the tortoiseshell that we were just looking at. It's signed by B.B. King, dated 12/18 of 97, and says something along the lines of, "Thank you for letting me be a part of your project." So that's kind of cool, but B.B. signed so many Lucilles, it really doesn't add much value. And the reason why this pick guard is not the usual color, look at your pickups. See how they're turning green around the edges? Same thing with the bridge, and right here on the tailpiece stud, you can see some of that going, as well as discoloration on the frets. And even your toggle switch securing ring, real celluloid pickguards off-gas when they're trapped in a case, and that is very detrimental. Here's the case for this one. It had the beautiful case shroud, but the off-gassing of the pickguard has literally eaten through it, and that's why it's also changed colors there too. It's dangerous to have pickguards like that locked up in a case, because not only will it destroy the case shroud and gold plating, it can destroy your finish too if left alone for long enough. But our keyword here is being part of your project, signed B.B. King. Whose project was this for? None other than the Pope himself. This is a golden photo. B.B. King, one of the blues greats, with Pope John Paul II. This was a personal gift from B.B. King to him, and that's a great story that I don't know if I even would have believed had I not seen these photos. Now, judging by the looks of things, I don't think this guitar was ever played again. It was just locked up in a case as a nice little memento. And what stinks is eventually this pickguard's just going to completely disintegrate and you're going to lose BB's signature. So you'll definitely want to keep this piece of case candy handy and save these photos. This was listed for sale on catawiki.com, and the project, according to them, was on Christmas of 1997. B.B. King, along with many other musicians, participated in the Christmas concert celebrated in the Vatican. Wow, that's pretty cool. Having B.B. King flown all the way out there, but he's played all over the world. But after the concert, he finds Pope John Paul in the audience and makes a big spectacle of giving him his concert-played Lucille as a symbol of respect to John Paul II. And in response to that, he does a rosary, which is like a whole string of prayers. You got the beads, all that good stuff, in case you're not familiar with that religion. And BB said for him, it was a very emotional experience. Think about it. The Pope right there with you going through all the prayers. That had to have felt pretty strong for BB. He claimed it was a very emotional experience, and approaching him in general was just a source of spiritual energy. So that's why he felt he had to give him that guitar. But apparently last time this guitar was sold was around 2004 during the Epiphone lottery, which is one of the events that the Vatican uses for charitable purposes. So it was sold by Pope John Paul II, like right before his dying. So now I know what you're wondering. How much does a guitar like this sell for? Pope-owned, signed, and played B.B. King Lucille. Well, this expert estimates between 65,000 and 75,000 euro. Well, bidding started at 1, quickly went to 2, 3, all the way up to 1,000. Then we got 10,000. Now we're getting to the real big money. 22,500, 30,000. And there was a little bit of a bidding war going on, 31.5, 32.5, 33.5. And then nobody saw this coming. The exact same bidder bid out his own bid with 45,000 euros. So how much was it actually worth in auction? Probably about 33.5, but for some reason he decided to pay 12,000 more. I'm not sure if there's buyer's premium or anything on that, so roughly 50,000 US is what that one went for. I feel like in a better auction house with more publicity, that could have potentially went for more, especially if you would have threw a charity aspect onto it. But that's like what, 10 to 15 times what one of these things normally sells for? Lucille's have a very small market to them, and I think it's just because so many of these things have been made, and there's only so much demand. Like, the Gem series, in my opinion, is really cool. I wouldn't mind one of those. And Gibson recently came out with the Legacy series, which you can check out in this episode. But I thought that was a fun, interesting tale. I hope you enjoyed it. Because now we need to cover another auctioned guitar. This one was offered by Julian's Auctions. Kinda looks like a Gibson Darkfire. Those normally look like this. It was one of Gibson's robot guitars. Against my better judgment, I did buy one of these a couple of months ago. I've just been too scared to open it because I know it's gonna be a headache. But they're kinda cool. They've got the flame top, untraditional colors with black binding. You've got these carbon fiber looking pickup covers. Same thing with your inlays. You've got the interesting flower pot headstock logo. These make fantastic projects if you gut all the electronics and run them like normal. They have cool cases too. There was also a small offshoot run of these that had the traditional electronics and tuners known as the Gibson London Fog. It's an interesting use of a guitar model that didn't sell that well. And it's such a unique color, natural with a bit of green tinge. I would definitely want to document one of those. But you'll notice none of those looked like this. This was a Gibson factory prototype sent to Gary Moore. Now, if you remember correctly, around this time we had the Gibson BFGs. We've talked about those in many of episodes. And there was a Gary Moore signature BFG. So it seems logical to me that they might have wanted to offer him a souped up version of that because, hey, we've got the P90, we've got the humbucker combination. It's got a signature knob layout. Now, it does look like somebody's played Swapperoonie on our current pickups and hardware set, but the original gold-plated ones are in there. But this is definitely just a repurposed Darkfire that they were probably trying to use up some of the leftover stock for as a signature model, because that would totally make sense. But apparently Gary was not a fan of the robot electronics and tuners because this, again, is a standard base model. But what's kind of cool about these is it's a raw open pore satin finish on the back, but the top is full gloss and you got the black binding like we were talking about earlier. And the headstock's really hard to see, but it does say Gary Moore on the truss rod cover. But coming down to our description, it says it was made in 2008, and it's actually stamped that on the back. Now, Reverb says his BFG was made from 2008 to 2012. Most of what I see is 2009, so at this time, I would need to do more research to see which came first, because it might be that this was seen as a souped up version of it that they offer later, or maybe this project just became the BFG Gary Moore because he wanted it even more stripped down and didn't want it to be associated with the failure of the Darkfire. But it was never produced and was first sold in 2017 at the Gary Moore Collection auction. It was estimated to bring between $10,000 and $20,000. Now, to me, that seemed a little bit high, considering you could potentially make one of these yourself. Darkfires in project condition are relatively inexpensive. We're talking like $1,500-ish. So send it down to Lay's or something, like another $500, you could have this guitar. But to my surprise, they almost got their top estimate, $19,500 before any buyer's premiums. If you were to put that on Reverb, I don't think it would sell none too fast, but hey, one of a kind Gary Moore, it's got an audience that might enjoy stuff like that. And now we got one last one to share with you guys tonight. It's a Swamp Ash Studio. It was listed for $1,600, which is what I view as absolute top dollar for one of these, but if there was one that was worth it, it was this. It's got the perfect wood grain. That's what you want when you've got the nice Swamp Ash body. You don't find that on Les Pauls too often, but they are out there in the Smartwood series and a few others. And typically, they are satin finishes, so finding them again in clean condition, a little bit tricky. This one actually appeared to have been very well kept. It's from the version that doesn't have any inlays on the fretboard, so that's cool. Headstock's looking pretty clean. I can verify 2003 production, with a little bit of nice candy cane striping chatoyant effect to the neck. Then the back, that's interesting. Extreme chevron grain. It kind of reminds me of like pinstriped baseball pants. Speaking of which, if you want to hear what a ash-bodied Les Paul sounds like, you can check out this baseball episode. But the icing on the cake is it's got that early 2000s Gibson case, the version that still has the case shroud. So not surprised that one sold. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day, and you might even enjoy this next one.